Alright, this is Sig Sauer back here again today. I got my p320C. This is the 9mm that I own. This is my wife's Glock 30S that she owns. Just going to do a quick comparison between kind of the Glock and Sig p320s, manual of arms, a couple things I'll note on each of them. It's not exactly an apple to apple. I don't have a Glock 19 Gen 5 to compare. That would be the closest. A lot of the issues with the old Gen 3s were fixed in the Gen 5s. But without further ado, a little here. Biggest thing I can note is that as far as capacity and stuff, they're pretty similar. I mean, obviously 45, this one only holds 10. That's not a fair comparison. But being about a Glock 19 sized gun, this is technically a subcompact in the 45 series, but with the extension here that comes stock, gets it very overall shape and feel to a 19. The slide is thinner like that of a 19 as well, or 9mm Glocks. But both these guns are unloaded prior to filming here. But biggest difference I can tell between the two is that the trigger on the p320s is a lot better, stock-wise. So, I mean, very nice, clean break, feels nice, nice audible reset. On the Glock, you know, it's the same as a lot of other Glocks. They're all basically the same. A little bit, they have a similar pull. I just like the feeling of the 320. It's a smoother trigger face, whereas, you know, this Glock, a little rougher, and the dingus kind of sticks out a little bit. Not a big deal, but something to note. The trigger hole on the p320 does allow better for a gloved hand. I mean, as you can compare there, between the two, a lot more open, a lot more shapely for a potential gloved hand, which I live in Michigan. That's kind of a big thing. Couple months out of the year you're going to be shooting in the winter if you're going to shoot at all. So it's something I tend to do. Mag release, I really like that on the p320. Very big, very crisp, good release. The old Gen 3 Glocks were nothing to really write home about. They fixed that in the Gen 4 and 5s, made them ambi and everything like that. But still, all they did was really make it a little bit bigger square, so it is easier to hit, but I just like the shape on the p320 more as well. The rails, as you can see on the p320, you got a fairly full pick rail, lots of options there. The Glock, you got the one slot there for lights and lasers and stuff like that. And, I mean, to each his own. I really don't run too much in terms of lights or anything like that. I have some, but, you know, as far as like home use and everything, I prefer, you know, the more mounting options. I just feel like it gets a better mount on there, but teach their own on that. As far as grip feel, I really like how the Sig, you know, it's a good, not really a pebbling, but very aggressive, kind of like a light grit sandpaper. It feels really good in the hand. I really do enjoy it. Glocks are fine, especially the old ones with the finger grooves, but you know, it's kind of a personal preference thing more than anything on that. Biggest thing to know on the p320, and a lot of people will mention, is the they'll mention the slide height and everything like that. You can get a higher grip on the Glocks, and yes, you can. As you can see in the back here, there's a lot more going on underneath. Obviously, the 320 was based off the 250, which was a hammer fired, so you needed to have that extra room down there to run the hammer internals. So they kept the design, it makes it a little bit bigger. All Sigs kind of share that, so I mean, if you're used to a Sig, you're going to be used to this. Glocks, they're always you can get very nice high riding grip on them. So, I mean, again, personal preference. I shoot this one just fine. I got no complaints with it. I shoot this one just fine. So it's mainly just a couple of the subtle differences. I think that takedown on both of them are pretty easy. Nope. So, I mean, on the Sig, obviously you just got your lever you can throw. And bada bing, bada boom, you get to your firing control unit. You can take out, swap out whatever you need. And, you know, everything's there to be able to clean. And that's just as easy as putting it back on, going back, switching that lever back, and you're back in business. The Glocks, these tabs sometimes are kind of hard to move down. I'm not going to say that they're a pain, but they can be hard if you have kind of a bad grip. Yeah. It's either just, I mean, obviously you're not going to hit them accidentally. There you go. And I mean, you get down to it, it's not hard, it's easy, you don't need any tools with either of them. But I guess, one thing I guess I should show. So I mean, as far as internally, there's really not a ton of differences. Both pretty simple, easy designs. You can get to anything you really need to. The frames themselves, you know, say what you will, I do like the way that the P320, you have the modular frame, because that chassis in here gives you a lot of extra firmness as far as, you know, the trigger and all the mounting points and everything for the slide rails. The Glock, it's worked fine for years. I'm not saying it's bad, but, you know, you're really relying on the polymer. Not really a bad thing. Like I said, it's been working for years. But it's hard to deny the fact that the P320 is not at least a little bit beefier in design. I'll give it that. You have a lot more going on. And, like I said, you can switch these out. So if your dog or you land on this weird, you break your grip frame, boom, you can buy a cheap one and throw it right back on and be ready to roll again. The Glock, you would have to get a new frame because you just don't have that option. Go ahead and put them back together. Oh. And yeah, they're both real easy to disassemble. I mean, that's not anything that I would really write home about as being a better of one or the other. So I mean, those are just a couple points. I do like the slide release on the P320 a little bit more as well. It's a little bit easier to get to. And it is ambi stock. Like I said, Gen 5s fix that issue. But the Glock, it is smoother into the frame, a lot tighter, so I'll give it that. But it's easy to reach too. It's really, I don't know. You get down to it, they're both well-made guns. It's going to be more personal preference. I tend to shoot and enjoy the P320 a lot more, strictly from the standpoint of it's just got a lot more feature stock. Price-wise, I think I paid about $479 or so for this. I think the Glock 30, a couple years back, obviously, but this is about $530. So they're really not that far off. And like I said, the Gen 5s are going to be a little bit more than obviously the older ones, but they still make them. So that's something to write as well, because it's definitely nice to be able to see them still manufactured. As far as one other thing I can note is the mags. You get used to the Glock polymer mags. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. They work just fine. Sig mags, they're, you know, your run-of-the-mill steel mag. They're both really nice. I like the fit and finish a little bit better on the Sig mags. A little easier to switch out or anything like that. Definitely Sig does a better design, getting them to fit flush and make it look like a factory option. Glock tends to make some design choices that I think are a little less than desirable. I mean, they could have easily made it look a little bit better. You can buy aftermarket ones that fit better as well, but just like I said, from stock, I think the P320 offers a little bit more, and for a new shooter, I don't think you'd go wrong with either one, but it just is what it is. So, let me know what you guys think. You know, they're both great guns, both great shooting. Both companies have a great reputation. Don't think you'd go wrong with them, but those are just a couple of the key differences I've noticed in these pistols while shooting them. And, you know, use your own judgment and see what you think. But, all right, thanks for watching.